Heart racing, breath caught in the throat. A low whisper cuts through the darkness. You think it's lust, but it's emptiness. The pulse pounds in the chest like a warning drum, an alarm that something deeper is at play. A solitary figure stands alone, eyes wide, fists clenched. A flicker of doubt crosses their face, as if they're sensing the truth for the first time. Before desire can claim another victim, we pause. Across the decades, a voice emerges, clear, deliberate, unforgettable. Carl Jung, it says, once taught that what we often call lust hides a profound spiritual hunger. We are drawn back to the 1960s. Lecture halls dimly lit, Jung's measured cadence filling the air. He speaks not of forbidden pleasures alone, but of an ache in the soul. His words echo. Our drives are neither good nor evil. They are signals pointing to what we have lost. And then, snap forward to today. Neon lights flicker through rain-streaked streets. Swipes on glowing screens. Faces illuminated by endless feeds. We chase momentary highs, believing that another click, another partner, another thrill will finally fill the emptiness inside. But the question lingers. Why does satisfaction slip through our fingers like sand? Why do we consume with such urgency, yet remain hollow? Jung believed that beneath every obsession lies a map to the self, a call to integration. If we mistake craving for fulfillment, we hand our power to the external world. We become repeat actors in a story written by forces we do not understand. Tonight, we follow that call into the labyrinth of the unconscious. We peel back the layers of desire, searching for the spark that can transform emptiness into purpose. The journey begins here. We journey now to the young Carl Jung, restless in Vienna's academic salons. He had been Freud's brightest protege, until he dared to question the very foundation of psychoanalysis. In a dimly lit study, ink flowed across paper as Jung drafted his psychological types, challenging the notion that libido was only sexual energy. Instead, he proposed an inner realm teeming with impulses, each demanding recognition. From this revelation emerged the shadow, the hidden self that harbors everything we refuse to admit. Jung wrote, in Symbols of Transformation, whatever is rejected from the self appears in the world as an event. Desire, he realized, often wears a mask. What we chase, be it passion, prestige, or power, can conceal deeper yearnings for wholeness and authenticity. When a shadow remains unintegrated, its force projects outward, driving us toward compulsions we mistake for true calling. Myth offers vivid proof. Consider Narcissus, enraptured by his own reflection, unable to grasp that the object of his lust is but a fractured piece of himself. Or Psyche, whose insatiable curiosity leads her ever onward, seeking what her heart already contains. These ancient tales mirror our silent struggles. We pursue what seems tangible, yet dissolves the moment we grasp. Jung extended this insight beyond individuals. He saw a collective shadow stirring in the myths and ideologies of cultures, promising salvation through conquest, consumption, or conformity. Each becomes a projection of what societies refuse to face: greed, fear, and a longing for unity. As modern viewers, we live within these projections. We worship glossy narratives of success, believing that status or sensation will heal our inner fractures. Yet the void only deepens. Jung's shadow play warns us. Until we turn inward, the forces we ignore will shape our destinies. Obsession becomes our compass, leading us not toward freedom, but further into the labyrinth of craving. In the next moment of temptation, pause and ask, what is this urge truly seeking? Beneath every obsession lies an invitation to reclaim the parts of ourselves we have denied, to strip away the masks and meet the shadow in the light. Only then can desire lose its deception. Why does a fleeting thrill so often leave us hollow? According to leading Jungian analysts, the answer lies at the intersection of ancient archetypes and modern neuroscience. Dopamine, explains Dr. Anjali Mehta, is the brain's reward currency. It trains us to seek pleasure, and modern stimuli exploit that mechanism mercilessly. In the lab, flashing images light up fMRI scans, revealing limbic circuits firing with each swipe, each click, each momentary spark of desire. But Jung had already spoken of two fundamental drives: eros, the life force that unites, and thanatos, the pull toward dissolution. When eros is misdirected, channeled into purely physical cravings, it becomes a distorted call for wholeness, a craving not for bodies, but for belonging. Projection, emphasizes Dr. Mehta, is the key. We project our unlived needs onto external sources, another person, another experience, believing they will complete us. Through kinetic text on screen, the words projection, complex, anima/animus pulse like a heartbeat. Consider the case of Sarah, a 29-year-old marketing executive. At first glance, she appears unstoppable. Glamorous evenings, a revolving door of partners, nights that promise liberation. Yet week after week, the emptiness returns, stronger, more insistent. Each new fling, each new thrill, only widens the chasm inside her. What I thought was lust, Sarah admits, was actually grief, an unspoken loss of my own identity. Sarah's story is not unique. In therapy, she discovered that her relentless pursuit of sensation was a desperate bid to integrate a fractured self. The passion she craved was never about sex. It was her soul crying out for connection, for authenticity, for meaning. Modern psychology confirms it. When the unconscious remains unacknowledged, it hijacks our most primal circuits, trapping us in cycles of craving and disappointment. Neuroscience calls it addiction. Jung calls it the shadow seeking light. In this light, lust dissolves as a label. What remains is a profound invitation to recognize our unmet needs, to reorient eros toward true integration. Only then does desire return to its rightful purpose, not as a void we fill, but as a bridge to our deepest selves. She builds an empire on desire. Every post is a promise, every smile a seduction. Yet behind the polished image lies a story of fractured trust and buried shame. When she logs off, the applause vanishes and emptiness returns. Her scrolling heart hunts for validation. Each new like feels momentary, fleeting. She chases intimacy through screens, believing that each digital embrace will stitch together the pieces of a self she has long denied. He came home from the front lines carrying ghosts instead of souvenirs. In the clamor of civilian life, his senses dull, until passion offers a brief reprieve. The rush of a new lover's touch seems to banish memories he cannot face. For a moment, the war recedes. The guilt, the fear, the faces of fallen comrades, they all drift away. But the emptiness waits, relentless, surfacing in the quiet hours before dawn. He realizes that no embrace can silence the echoes he carries within. She sits behind a polished desk, orchestrating mergers and acquisitions. Success is her currency, power her drug. Yet when the night settles in, she finds herself drawn into an affair, a reckless plunge into emotion she believes will ignite her spirit. The affair twists into obsession, stolen weekends, whispered secrets, and the intoxicating illusion of freedom. But rather than liberation, she encounters a deeper void. The affair does not fill her. It amplifies the ache she thought she could escape. Across these lives, a single truth emerges. Lust masquerades as freedom, but often deepens bondage. Every encounter, every fleeting thrill, becomes a mirror reflecting an unspoken need. The influencer's staged confidence, the veteran's desperate reprieve, the executive's illicit passion, all reveal the same pattern. Modern experts remind us that projection drives these cycles. We cast our hidden wounds onto others, hoping they will heal us. When that fails, the wound grows. Each story underscores Jung's warning. Without acknowledging our inner shadow, desire becomes a relentless force, pulling us toward ever greater extremes. In the silent spaces between encounters, the unacknowledged emptiness turns inward, demanding to be seen. It is here, in this tension between pursuit and void, that we discover the true nature of our longing. Only by recognizing the stories we tell ourselves can we begin to rewrite them, transforming emptiness into a path toward wholeness. Every day, we perform the same ritual. Our thumbs glide over glass surfaces, an endless carousel of faces, fantasies, and fleeting connections. On average, a single user swipes more than 500 times in just one day, chasing novelty and hoping for a spark of satisfaction. Yet satisfaction remains elusive. We live in the midst of a global industry built on desire's insatiable promise. Last year, online pornography generated over $100 billion in revenue worldwide, a sum that rivals entire entertainment sectors. Dating apps boast churn rates upward of 70% annually, as users cycle through profiles in search of a perfect match, only to be left unfulfilled when the match fails to fill the emptiness gnawing at their interiors. This is desire weaponized. Algorithms harvest our impulses and learn what makes our hearts race. They curate our feeds, tailoring every image, every suggestion to keep us engaged, ensuring we never look away and never feel entirely sated. From beauty products promising youth to media narratives stoking fear, capitalism has learned to commodify not just goods, but our deepest hungers. Today's digital landscape has turned longing into data, argues cultural critic Marcus Elise. Every click, every linger is logged and monetized. Our desires become predictable patterns, gold mines for those who sell us both solutions and more problems. Yet this is not entirely new. In the 1950s, glossy magazines and cinema seduced us with carefully staged fantasies of allure. The modern twist lies in scale and intimacy. Today's machines of desire reach into our palms, shaping our yearnings in real time. Carl Jung foresaw the danger when he warned that eros, the life force meant to unite us with meaning and community, could be co-opted by external systems. When our longing for connection is hijacked by collective machinery, society itself becomes a predictive model of craving and consumption. What once was an inner call to wholeness turns into a loop of perpetual want. The consequences extend beyond individual frustration. Political operatives study the same analytics to exploit fears and feed division. Social media filters amplify groupthink, turning emptiness into a tool for radicalization. A vacuity that begins in the mind ends up shaping our societies. Here lies the paradox. The more advanced our technology, the deeper the void it can expose. Each swipe that promises fulfillment only reminds us of what remains missing. The machines of desire do not liberate. They enchain us to a cycle of endless consumption. If lust is the mask, emptiness is the face beneath it. Recognizing how our cravings are engineered is the first step toward reclaiming our agency. Only by shining light on these hidden systems can we begin to redirect eros back toward genuine connection, rather than surrendering our longing to the algorithms that would own it. A wide shot, a bustling city square at dusk, neon reflections dancing across hundreds of faces. Every gaze is fixed on a glowing rectangle. Tweets, live streams, viral challenges. Millions synchronizing their attention, like moths drawn to a collective flame. But what fuels this frenzy? Jung called it the collective shadow, the buried fears and unspoken longings of a society, externalized and magnified. When our personal emptiness remains unexamined, we seek fulfillment in the crowd, instinctively merging into movements that promise belonging and meaning. Consider propaganda posters from the 1930s. Bold slogans, heroic imagery, a simple message. Join us, be whole. Fast forward to today's social media. The same psychological levers at work. A hashtag campaigns for justice. A flash mob ignites attention. A viral challenge offers fleeting connection. In each case, a vacuum within the self is plugged by the collective, momentarily soothing the ache of isolation. Dr. Naveen Rao, social psychologist, explains, groupthink arises when individuals suppress doubts to maintain unity. The shadow of unacknowledged anxieties projects onto an other, whether it's a political enemy or a misunderstood subculture. This projection fuels conformity and, at its extreme, can spiral into extremist rallies or mass hysteria. Archival footage of World War II rallies cuts to modern clips of polarized comment threads. The imagery feels shockingly similar: chanting crowds, impassioned speakers, the hypnotic pull of belonging. Yet beneath the surface, the drivers are the same: our unfulfilled desire for significance, safety, and community. Consumerist trends follow a parallel path. A new fashion drop is announced, and overnight, millions scramble to attest their identity through branded logos. Viral challenges latch onto the same impulse. Do this dance, share this moment, prove that you're part of the tribe. In the flash of a trending tag, emptiness is momentarily masked by the illusion of togetherness. But this superficial unity carries a cost. When our collective shadows run unchecked, we project hatred, fear, and aggression onto scapegoats. We sacrifice critical thought for emotional catharsis. What begins as a yearning for connection morphs into a force that fractures communities and deepens the void it sought to fill. To break this cycle, we must first acknowledge our inner absences. Only by turning our gaze inward, naming the disquiet we carry, can we resist the seductive pull of the crowd. Real belonging arises not from mirroring others, but from embracing our own shadows and finding genuine bonds forged in authenticity. In the next act, we will explore how to chart this inner terrain and transform collective emptiness into a catalyst for conscious community building, rather than compulsion-driven conformity. Have you ever woken from a dream so vivid it lingered all day, as if it held a secret meant only for you? That dream is your psyche speaking, an invitation to explore the terrain of your own depths. Jungian practice teaches us 3 gateways into this hidden world: active imagination, dream work, and shadow journaling. Active imagination asks you to engage with inner images as though they were real. You begin with a simple question: what does this craving feel like? Allow any response, an image, a phrase, a memory, to arise. Then hold it gently in mind. Notice its shape, its color, its tone. Let the dialogue unfold between your conscious self and this mysterious figure. Dream work honors the messages your unconscious sends while you sleep. Keep a notebook by your bed and capture every detail upon waking. Don't judge what appears. A single symbol, a locked door, a winding river, can reveal patterns of avoidance or longing. Over time, you'll trace connections between your waking frustrations and these nocturnal narratives. Shadow journaling brings pen to paper. Choose a desire that has haunted you: the need for constant approval, the hunger for novelty, the ache for belonging. Write it down as a question: why do I chase this? Then answer without censoring. Let contradictions surface. Record the fear you sense beneath the craving. Note any resistance that arises. Through these practices, emptiness transforms from an adversary into a guide. Rather than pursuing satisfaction in external objects, you learn to hold your own inner experiences with curiosity. An unintegrated shadow fragment, once a source of compulsion, becomes a seedbed for creativity and self-understanding. One Jungian therapist describes this shift as alchemy of the soul. By engaging directly with your unconscious, you reclaim the energy bound up in projection. That energy can then fuel your passions, art, relationships, purpose, in ways you never imagined. You might feel discomfort when a buried desire surfaces. That is a signal you're on the right path. Embrace the unease as proof that healing is underway. Each insight you record, each dream you honor, and each inner dialogue you sustain chips away at the void. Mapping your inner landscape does not promise instant relief. Instead, it offers a way home to yourself, As you chart these inner contours, you awaken the life force that transforms emptiness into fertile ground. Your longings cease to control you. They become signposts pointing toward integration, creativity, and authentic connection. This journey lays the foundation for the final act, where we witness the emergence of a new consciousness, born from the union of light and shadow, from base metal to gold. This is the alchemy of the psyche, as Carl Jung envisioned it. Individuation transforms the raw of our shadow into the brilliance of wholeness. Imagine a crucible of glowing molten metal, fierce heat stirring currents until impurities rise and separate, leaving pure gold behind. In the same way, our inner work melts away projections and defenses. We face the flames of discomfort, our shame, our fear, our unspoken cravings, and let them transmute into insight and purpose. A lotus blooms from muddy waters. Our souls flower through the darkness we integrate. Consider the poet Amara Singh. She once described her life as a relentless ache of absence. When sorrow pressed in, she turned to verse. Each line a confession, each stanza a step toward understanding. My emptiness spoke in broken rhythms, she says. But when I gave it voice, I discovered its music. Her poems now resonate in theaters and online forums alike, turning private grief into collective catharsis. Or witness Javier Morales, who channeled his trauma into social innovation. Haunted by the loss of his brother, he founded a network of healing circles in underserved neighborhoods. I realized, he reflects, that my wound had a purpose, to connect me with others who felt unseen. Through community gardens and storytelling events, he seeded spaces where emptiness became a bridge rather than a barrier. And then there's Layla Hassan, an abstract painter whose canvases erupt in fiery swirls of color. She describes each brushstroke as a dialogue with her shadow, anger, longing, desire, all dancing across the frame. When I stopped fighting my darkness, she says, it became the most vibrant part of my art. Jung wrote, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is the essence of alchemical integration. We gather the scattered fragments of self and melt them down into something greater than the sum of their parts. As our personal gold cools, it carries a radiance that cannot be forged elsewhere. Our passions align with genuine need. Our relationships deepen. Our creativity sparks movements that transcend the self. Emptiness, once feared, reveals itself as the crucible of transformation, a catalyst that ignites a new way of being. In embracing our shadows, we step into the laboratory of the soul. We become both alchemist and material, torchbearer and flame. And from this union, a new consciousness emerges. One that no longer confuses lust with fulfillment, but channels desire toward the light of authentic selfhood. What if the hunger we once called lust could be turned inward, redirected toward purpose, service, and genuine self-discovery? Imagine the first light of dawn casting hope across a world yet to be remade. Picture the simple act of planting a seed. A gesture of faith that what lies beneath the surface can grow into something enduring. Across continents, people gather, some in quiet rooms, others across digital screens, sharing stories of shadow and transformation. Take a moment to listen to your own cravings. Notice how they rise and fall, like waves against an unseen shore. When you feel the tug of desire, pause and ask, what am I really seeking? Let your journal become the mirror in which your unspoken longings appear. Write down each impulse without judgment. Over time, these entries will reveal the patterns that guide your life. Seek out companions who value depth over distraction. Form a circle or join one online, where silence is honored as much as speech, and where each voice is invited to bring the light of its own darkness into the shared space. In these gatherings, the emptiness that once isolated you transforms into a bridge connecting you with others on the same path. Carry these practices forward, Observe your cravings, record your shadows, and reach toward communities committed to authenticity. In doing so, you begin to weave a new tapestry of belonging, one spun from the threads of integrated longing rather than fleeting thrill. Carl Jung reminded us that your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. As that ember of insight glows within you, remember that endings are also beginnings. What seems like a final flicker may be the spark of something far greater, a life lived in conscious resonance with the deepest yearnings of your soul.